Hey guys, it's College Studios here, and in today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different because I thought it'd be fun to go back and take a look at this video. So this one that we're looking at right here was uploaded on March 13th of last year, my birthday, and it was essentially my 5-year plan for Great Adventure following 2024. Now this took place before the merger occurred, before all the rides that wound up getting removed were, well, removed, along with a lot of other things that we didn't have knowledge of back then that we do now. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of take a look back at what I thought almost a year ago now of what the park's future would be and compare it to how different it looks now and point out what I got kind of right, what could still be right, and what is completely wrong. So let's jump into this video and see what it looks like. We got the old intro here. It's College Studios here, and I'm sure a question that's on a lot of your minds right now is what is next for Six Flags Great Adventure after the 2024 season? The park is getting a ton of investments for the 2024 season, like Flash Vertical Velocity, Savannah Sunset, the refurb of Log Flume and Big Wheel. There's a lot of stuff going on at the park for 2024, but that does not mean that there's not going to be a ton more going on in years to come. So in this video, I'm going to be going through my 5-year plan for Great Adventure. This is taking a look at realistically what the most likely options are for the next 5 years. Kind of funny to watch this now with all these rides behind a wall with about half of them being closed now. Years that are closer to now are going to be a little easier to predict and have more specifics on because we have a pretty good idea of what direction the park is going in. But as we get closer to the years like 2029, it's going to be a little trickier. And of course, a lot of these are going to be shots in the dark because it's just way too soon to know what the park is going to do in 5 years. I'm sure the park themselves don't even know. I'm going to skip the intro and just get right into each year's predictions because we don't really need to hear this. Let's get started with 2025. Now, obviously 2025 has been a year that everyone has been looking forward to at the park because they are heavily rumored to be getting a brand new roller coaster. And I firmly believe that will be happening even with Flash opening this year. That did not age well. It was never meant to be the big 50th anniversary coaster for the park. The big one was always coming, and now it is coming in 2025, and my best guess is that it's going to be a brand new multi-launch coaster. Now, I know a lot of people thought maybe it'd be a Giga. I'm throwing that rumor out the window. I definitely think it's going to be a new multi-launch coaster. As for who it could be by, I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 different manufacturers, and those are Intamin, Vekoma, and Zamperla. Intamin because they are best known for their multi-launch coasters. You look at rides like Velocicoaster and others that have been built recently, and they're super successful. They have great capacity, they're very comfortable, they're amazing rides, and I think something like that would work phenomenally at Great Adventure. Vekoma is also a really good manufacturer, especially as of late. We see a lot of their great projects over in Europe, and we're even getting one of them in 2024 at Great Adventure in the form of Flash. Now, Zamperla may come off as a bit of a surprise, but they're currently working on 2 new projects. They have the project up at Playland in Vancouver and, of course, Top Thrill 2, as well as unveiling a ton of other models that they have currently been working on. And I think Zamperla is going to wind up finding major success. As for the 2 coasters that are opening in 2024 release, I think they're going to be really successful, and I think Zamperla has a pretty strong future going forward with their new projects. I personally would much rather see an Intamin than any of these others, but I do think Vekoma and Zamperla may be more likely. Vekoma and Zamperla are probably cheaper than Intamin, and with the merger coming up and a lot of uncertainty around what will happen to the parks, I think they'd rather go with a little bit of a cheaper option. Even though I do think Intamin would be better, I have a feeling they're probably going to sway more towards Vekoma or Zamperla, but don't count Intamin out. I'd love to see a ride like Soaring with Dragon or Velocicoaster come to the park. As for where it would go, my best guess would be in the arena plot. We've been looking at this plot for years now, and they already demoed the stage, but they do have the rest of it up as of the last time we were able to see it. In addition to all of this, I could see Great Adventure finally going year-round. This year, for 2024, we saw the shortest off-season we have ever seen for the park, and I have a feeling that they're trying to push to go year-round. Realistically, they probably could pull it off. New Jersey definitely does get its fair share of snow, as we've seen recently, but at the same time, the weather isn't terrible, and they could easily keep a few attractions open throughout the year. And I think with the park rebranding themselves as Great Adventure Resort, I think they're definitely going for more of that all year round vacation style approach. And I think the best way they could start approaching that is with making the park year round. I think that would be really successful. People will definitely keep going as long as they know the park is open. And in addition to this, I also expect Nitro to finally get its long-awaited repaint. It keeps getting pushed off due to budgetary restraints because they have other projects going on, but I do think that 2025 will finally be the year we see Nitro get its fresh coat of paint. More than likely, it'll be blue and gray or blue and black, some kind of combination like that, matching the trains, because the trains look really, really good. And hopefully we'll see the queue revamped a little bit now that they'll have a little bit more time to work on it. But those are all of my current predictions for 2025. So I'm going to jump in now. Obviously, a lot has changed ever since I made these predictions. For starters, I predicted that we would get a brand new multi-launch coaster, which isn't entirely wrong. I mean, Flash is opening, but obviously the coaster that I guess should have opened in 2025 would have been something like this. Didn't wind up happening. Flash got pushed. We know it all kind of got thrown around a bit with the merger. I still believe a coaster that I described in this video could wind up happening. I think a Blitz style coaster in the arena would be perfect. You can build out the back half for Frontier Adventures and really turn it into a better themed area overall. Obviously, it's not going to happen yet because we have the King the Cow replacement coming in 2026, and we'll get to 2026 in a moment. I also predicted that the park would go year-round in 2025. Doesn't look like that's happening. I mean, we've even been thinking maybe they're going to cut Holiday in the Park. I don't think that's going to happen. Holiday in the Park did fairly well this year from the looks of it, so hopefully that'll stick around. But in terms of the park going year-round, I don't know that's going to happen. Cedar Fair tested it with King's Dominion and Carowinds. As far as I know, both of those parks don't do it anymore, maybe because they discovered it wasn't such a great idea. So probably not going to happen here at Great Adventure either. I also predicted Nitro to finally get a repaint in 2025, and it's becoming pretty clear that that's not happening. In fact, Titan at Six Flags Over Texas is getting the exact same color scheme that has been rumored for Nitro for so long. So a lot of people are thinking that Six Flags sent Nitro's paint over to Over Texas, and honestly, that's kind of what it's looking like happened. So who knows when we're going to get the Nitro repaint, hopefully sooner than later, but now we're going to jump over to 2026 to see what kind of predictions I had in store. 2026. This is definitely going to be a little more of an off year. This is going to be more of a year for the park to look at what they already have and improve it as much as they can. So I definitely think we could expect to see a new hotel come 2026. Like I said, with the whole grid jumping in, yep, no new hotel in 2026. We did get Savannah Sunset in 2024, but I just don't see a hotel coming to the park by 2026. So already probably going to be spending a lot of money on King Kaka's replacement and doing all that, plus all the money they're spending on demolishing all these rides. Hotel is probably going to have to wait past 2026. Adventure resort thing, I think the next logical step, in addition to making the park year-round, is to add an on-site hotel, because they do have Savannah Sunset, but that's pretty expensive, and it's a bit of a different type of overnight stay experience compared to what you'd get out of a hotel. And I think Great Adventure desperately needs an on-site hotel, and it would work great for 2026. In addition to that hotel, I could see the parking lot being reconfigured, and along with that, the front entrance being renovated, not including the security booth because that was already renovated in 2022. I'm talking the actual entrance where the ticket booths are and all that. I could definitely see that getting a revamp. And the parking lot so this actually isn't too far off. I mean, in 2024, we obviously saw a major change up here at the entrance towards the end, where they reused these ticket booths as the actual entrance and got rid of the turnstiles. So I'm hopeful that maybe we're going to see more renovations come in 2025. Obviously, this video said 2026, but still kind of in the same vein of getting this thing renovated a little bit, more modernized, and I think we're going to see more upgrades continue to happen up here. It's always been a bit of a mess in terms of getting in. It's a little bit of a confusing setup. Definitely a lot of instances where car accidents can happen very easily in that lot, so I could definitely see them reconfiguring it. In addition to this, there's some other smaller enhancements around the park. I could see Twister being removed come 2026. There were rumors that it would be closed ahead of 20. Well, I was a couple years off, but Twister is of course no longer with us, got removed the end of the 2024 season, so it's a couple seasons late in this video. 24, but that is obviously not going to be the case because they haven't announced anything. I could see it closing even in 2025. Just the problem with Twister is that there's really not many rides like it around. I'm pretty sure it's the only one left in the United States, so it really doesn't have a very bright future ahead at the park because it really just isn't that popular anymore and it's not around as much as it used to be. So I think that's definitely going to be on the chopping block, and of course with the parachutes being removed, that will open up a nice plot of land for them to work with on the boardwalk. And I don't think they're going to do anything with that immediately. I think they're going to hold off until what you see a little later on in this timeline. But in addition to that, I could see a small flat ride being added next to Justice League. whether it's on the side of Flash or the side of Dark Knight and Wonder Woman. Either way, I could see a new ride being added. I've always thought they could use the chiller building, the exploratorium, whatever you want to call it, that they now use as a VIP lounge. I always thought it'd be a great spot for an indoor attraction, kind of like Cyborg Hyperdrive. So it's funny I say that because now, of course, we have that giant Fright Fest building that was plopped right here, and this was always a spot pretty much exactly where that Fright Fest building was put, where I could see a flat ride going, but since they put that there, probably not going to happen, at least in that location anymore. At Six Flags New England, I'd love to see something like that go in there if they decide to do away with the VIP experience. In addition to that, I could see Skyway and Skull Mountain getting refurbed, both of which I think definitely need. Oh, this is unfortunate to hear. Obviously, as we know, Skyway, they pulled the plug on. It is no longer going to be operational and presumably removed. So no refurbishment in 2026, although I'm assuming there probably was supposed to be a refurbishment, and then whether it just kind of got canceled once the merger came in or whatever happened. Obviously, as we know, that is no longer going to happen. Skull Mountain, I am curious to see what happens to it in the coming years. Hopefully it does get a big refurbishment because it is definitely due for one. Need it. Skyway has been operating since 1974. It's a park original, and I think they're going to do everything they can to keep it operating in whatever capacity they can. And in addition to that, Skull Mountain has definitely seen better days. It's not really in its best state. It doesn't have all of its effects working. And I definitely think it'd be nice to see some effects added back, maybe the ride worked on a little bit, just to see it get some love. I'd much rather see it get a refurbishment than get completely torn out, and it is getting a little old. At this point in 2026, it'll be 30 years old, so it's definitely going to be getting a little long in the tooth. So I think for the 30th year of Skull Mountain, they should do a nice refurbishment to it. And in addition to that, we have one of the things that relate to the merger. I could see them retheming Junior Thrill Seekers to Camp Snoopy. The reason I say Camp Snoopy, and I'm going to jump in here again, I still think this is something that could happen, but we really haven't seen how the new company is going to handle all of their IP integration. Once we see the themes of the 2026 coasters and new attractions, that's when we might be able to get a good idea, but as of right now, it seems like they're in no rush to integrate either the Looney Tunes in DC into Cedar Fair parks, or vice versa with Snoopy into the Six Flags parks. I still think Camp Snoopy would be perfect for this area, redo the whole thing, but I think they're probably going to start getting away from all the IP integration except for like Looney Tunes and Snoopy. I don't think we're going to see as much DC stuff, but only time will tell. Not Planet Snoopy is because I think Camp Snoopy could actually work really well with the Pine Barrens theme of Jersey Devil, and I think down the line we could see that enhanced a little more, which again you'll see in the timeline later. But I think they're going to try to want to incorporate more IPs, and the only IP that comes from Cedar Fair, which Six Flags doesn't have, is the Peanuts characters and Snoopy, and I definitely would like to see that area themed to Camp Snoopy, because personally I would rather see it be themed to that than what it currently is as Junior Thrill Seekers. But that's everything for 2026. Now moving on to 2027, we have another coaster year. This is going to be the Golden Kingdom overhaul with a brand new Vekoma Family multi-launch coaster, a new restaurant, the removal of Splashwater Oasis, and a Kingda Ka repaint. So the Vekoma Family multi-launch coaster, So there's a lot to unpack in everything I just said. So I'm a bit of a year late to the Golden Kingdom overhaul because, as we know, Golden Kingdom is being completely ripped to shreds in the 2024-2025 off-season as they get rid of Kingda Ka, Zumanjaro. So we're going to see a lot of changes happen here, and of course the new edition is coming in 2026 and will involve the removal and replacement of Kingda Ka as opposed to a repaint of Kingda Ka. So definitely off by quite a bit here. And then I also predicted a Vekoma multi-launch coaster, which I don't think that's going to happen yet. Maybe down the line we'll get one of those family coasters, but obviously not yet with the replacement for Kingda Ka coming in. But let's hear the details about what I was predicting. Ideas, because realistically there's a lot they could do with that space, and this wouldn't really be fully inhabiting where Rolling Thunder was. It wouldn't stretch too far into Plaza del Carnaval. It would use that area next to Zumanjaro and kind of weave its way through. Originally I was looking at doing an RMC makeover of Rolling Thunder, kind of reborn, but realistically, I don't think that's the approach they would go for. At this point, they've added thrill coaster after thrill coaster after thrill coaster. They could probably use a family coaster, and I think this is their best option. Now, I am going to address the elephant in the room right now, which of course is Kingda Ka. A lot of people do think that it could be receiving a makeover similar to that of Top Thrill 2 in the near future. Personally, I don't see it. I think they're going to try to keep Kingda Ka the way they can, and when it really becomes necessary, maybe they will go that route. But for the sake of this video, I am assuming that Kingda Ka will remain open and will not get that treatment, hence why it's getting a repaint, because they wouldn't repaint it right before they're going to close it and change it up anyways. So wow, that did not age well at all. So as you guys heard, obviously I said that I would think the park is going to keep Kingda Ka the way it is as long as they can and not do the top thrill treatment. I didn't even bring up the possibility of this ride getting taken out, because quite frankly, a year ago, I never would have believed you if you told me that that would be the final year for Kingda Ka. So I think that goes to show how much has changed over the past year at Great Adventure. That's the way I feel about it personally. I know some people may disagree, but that's alright. Now, that's it for 2027. Moving on to 2028. We're going to be focusing on the Pine Barrens area of the park. I'm going to put a new flat ride between Jersey Devil and Roaring Rapids. Maybe something like an S&S Scream and Swing. I think that would work really great over there. Or maybe even some flyers would work nice too. And retheme the rapids to fit into the Pine Barrens area. Along with this, they could revamp that whole area along with Camp Snoopy to give it more of a woods type feel. They could even give Nitro a bit more of a Pine Barrens-esque backstory. And I think overall that whole area could definitely do with some extra theming, and I think that would really complete the Jersey Devil edition, because Jersey Devil's area itself looks really nice, and I think if they expand that kind of vibe out further towards Roaring Rapids and Nitro and all of that, I think that would make the area look really, really good. Kind of make it look similar to what it did as Adventure Rivers, but instead of being themed after more of a Congo, theme it to the woods and Pine Barrens. I think that would work really, really well for the area, and I've always said ever since Jersey Devil was built that they could definitely use another new ride next to Jersey Devil to kind of complete the area, and I think adding another flat ride would be really, really good for that area. So I still agree with this. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do think that area could definitely use some more thematic cohesion, and we know that Cedar Fair is big on that. They love having their really nice, well-backstory, well-themed theme areas, and the Pine Barrens just seems perfect for them to come in and work their magic with a really cool backstory, some props, some new rides, all that. Of course, the future of everything in the park is very uncertain, so we don't know what they're going to wind up doing with this area, but if they do wind up keeping everything relatively the same as what it is now, I think that would be a really good approach for them to go on down the line. And finally, we come to 2029. I have the least amount of stuff in here for this year because, like I said at the beginning, as we get further along, I have less and less definite ideas. But for 2029, I have Green Lantern being removed and a new dive coaster being built on the boardwalk area, with the boardwalk area kind of being rethemed. So, again, not necessarily too far off. They're not getting a dive coaster, at least not yet, where Green Lantern is, but I missed the closing year by about 5 years, so I guess I expected them to hold on to Green Lantern a little bit longer. This, again, was before we knew about Project Accelerate and everything the Cedar Fair executives are looking to do with the Six Flags chain. But I do still think a big coaster is going to replace Green Lantern. I just don't know what or when or how they're going to orient that whole area. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to assume that Kingda Ka's replacement is not going to take up this whole plot. I have my ideas for what it's going to be, and if it winds up being that, it's definitely not going to use Green Lantern's plot. So I think they should reuse this plot as a massive coaster, as one to kind of greet you as you're coming into the park, very similar to the presence that Scream Machine and even Lantern had. And hopefully we will see that happen, but it's probably going to take a little while. Out of all the coasters in the park, Green Lantern is the one I think would be next to get removed. I don't really think it would happen anytime soon, but for the sake of this video, I think eventually they're going to see, yeah, that did not age well. That it's not the most popular, it's not the most comfortable. They can't convert it to a sit-down coaster because they already have Medusa, and they would pretty much be the same ride at that point. So I could see them getting rid of it because it's going to be getting close to its service life anyways, and putting a brand new B&M dive coaster there, make it really big, have a strong presence, use up the area that Twister and Parachutes had, and retheme that whole area. As to what, I'm not too sure. I've always thought they should retheme it back to an Air Force kind of theme. They used to have that kind of theme over there, and I always thought that was the best theme that area had. So if they could restore that, personally, I'd love to see Superman get rethemed or just removed entirely. So I don't think that's realistically going to happen because Superman is a really popular attraction, but I do think a retheme could happen realistically. We also don't know what's going to happen with the DC characters at the Six Flags parks in 5 years from now. For all we know, they could wind up losing the licensing and then they got to retheme everything. We don't know what's going to happen, but realistically, I don't think that will. I think they're going to build a dive coaster there, or really any other kind of coaster. I just put a dive coaster because it's going to be right on the parking lot, and that'll definitely have a really big presence to people when they first come to Great Adventure. They'll be like, wow, look at that ride, that looks impressive. But with that being said, that is my tentative 5-year plan for Great Adventure. Alright, so those are the bulk of my predictions for this video. Kind of looking back at everything I said, I did get a lot wrong, but you can't blame me because who could have expected or predicted that everything that happened in 2024 would happen? So the big ones that I was wrong about obviously resulted in Flash being delayed to 2025, King Deca, Green Lantern, Twister, Parachutes, etc., all getting removed. I didn't even mention Cyborg in this video, but that one's done as well. I did have some predictions that definitely aren't too out of the realm of possibility, like the coaster in the arena. I just don't think it's obviously not going to happen in 2025, but maybe 27, 28 down the line, I definitely could see that happening. Seems like the new chain definitely has a very different vision for the park than I would have expected. Not necessarily in a bad way. They're trying to revamp the park as much as they can. It is going to take time and a lot of money though, so hopefully we'll see that all come to fruition, but I thought it was pretty cool to look back at what I thought a year ago versus how things are looking now, and they just could not be more different, especially because I didn't think Green Lantern was going to get removed until 2029. I thought all the coasters at the park would stay there until 2029, and then we find out that 2 of the biggest ones are leaving at the end of 2024. Crazy how things go. But with all that being said, that's going to do it for today's video, looking back at my 5-year plan, and you can expect a new one to come out relatively soon once I get some things ironed out. So if you guys enjoyed and are looking forward to that one, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, guys.